Welcome back, everybody, to the Rebel Nutritionist Podcast. I have Dr. Sherri, and she's back. Yay.
Yay.
So I have to say that our last podcast together was one of our most watched episodes, one of our most downloaded, viewed. We had the most comments. So, of course, I had to bring her back.
Absolutely.
And
happy to be here.
Yes, and have this discussion. And really, the whole topic today is the rebel, me, has gone, I'm going to call it hyper rebel. And
Exactly.
you'll see why I'm calling it that as we get into this. But for me, it's been a fascinating journey, thanks to Dr. Sherri, because...
For me too.
Yeah, awesome. Because I started delving into a world that was a lot mysterious, a lot unknown. It's not, this world of the medical medium is not, let's call it proven science.
And it's not mainstream.
It goes against probably everything. Here's the thing. It has really been a huge paradigm shift for me because it does fly in the face of so much of what I have learned under the construct of, whether it's nutrition, whether it's functional medicine. And for those of you that know me, I am like deep in the weeds in functional medicine. So it would take a lot to really flip the switch for me. And then I started reading the books, and I had the great fortune, and I'm sure the universe aligned this, of allowing me to be able to really reach out to you. And every time I had a question, I'm on the phone. I think, the first few weeks, we were on the phone like
a lot.
I want to say twice a day. And I'm like, what is this? And I don't understand this. And she's like, she'd send me a podcast. And, and
it was like the emergency hotline.
Yeah, it was like the bat line, the bat phone, right?
Yeah.
It was like, for those of you that don't know, Batman, right? Here's but yeah, it was the hotline. And I think that what really sealed the deal for me is in so much of what I was reading, it did align with what I know in the world of physiology and the world of biochemistry, right? The way Anthony Williams speaks, it's like, all right, for a man who does not have a medical degree, he is speaking in a way that resonated on a very, very deep level. And
Right.
And something clicked, something intuitively. And I always say, follow your gut, right? And for me, I was getting these downloads of like, when I finished my functional medicine, I did my last certification in November, December. And then I did a certification in immunology for dietitians. And I remember at the end of that thinking to myself, I'm missing something. Right. And what am I missing? There's something that's not connecting the dots. And then I met you, and then we started talking, and I'm like, okay, is this perhaps the missing piece, which is so unconventional, like it's beyond unconventional. And, and then you were like, well, just dip your toe in the water. Right. Just dip. I don't know that I know how to dip. I think
exactly.
You
dove. You dove. Yeah. But I would say that this is really like it for all practitioners that are, who are into the science, not all, but the ones who get really curious and want to go outside the box. And then because they're looking for solutions for their patients, right?
Yes. So, like in the books, they even talk about these physicians that have leaned into his work.
Yeah.
Again, right, a physician going against what their medical dogma is to try and get answers.
Exactly.
And I think what also part of the icing on the cake, no pun intended, this can't really have icing, but people following medical medium protocols were actually getting better.
Yes.
And in functional medicine, we do heal people. Like I am very fortunate. I worked with so many people who have had amazing healing journeys, but it's not enough. I want to, it's enough. I always say if I help one person, right, it's enough. But there's so many sick people out there, and we're seeing it more and more. Yeah. And it's just on such a grand scale.
And for me, what I was seeing was a lot of people who were going to the functional medicine doctors and practitioners that were not getting better, and that they were ending up at my door, and they had seen 10 or 15 different practitioners, a lot of them functional medicine, and they were still sick, and they had bags of supplements, and they had tried this and that and this protocol and this IV and this situation and these, all of it, and all the blood work, the stacks of blood work, and the functional medicine testing, and they were still not doing well. So that drove me to look.
Yeah, and there's enough people that I can say, look, we've had, look, we do great with autoimmune, right? We do great with gut. We do great with metabolic, like cardiovascular, diabetes. Like, we do great with those things. And where we're still stuck is these people who are in chronic pain and autoimmune, right? That they call now, right? That autoimmune thing. And there's so much more of that. And so to be able to, and cancer, right? I think functional medicine is not equipped enough. I love functional medicine, right? But I just don't know that we know enough to really get people beyond that cancer diagnosis. And that for me is a big one. I mean, I had cancer, and you don't, and the statistics on the number of people that are going to get cancer is mind blowing.
That are already as well,
that have it, but even right as
the
young people, right? What we're seeing in what is coming is the rise in cancers in young people, and that is devastating. So, so
and
that's
a lot of chronic neurological, and we're seeing a lot of more neurological. Whether it's Bell palsy, whether it's neurological fatigue, which is something we're going to be talking about next month more, and or the trigeminal neuralgia, or the chronic migraines, or the everything under the sun that
brain fog.
A lot of brain fog for sure.
Memory.
A lot of that right now. The Alzheimer's, the Parkinson's, all of those things that are happening. So we are really looking at wanting to take all these other pieces that I've been learning from medical medium information that I've applied into my practice, sharing a lot more with you, and you're fascinated by it and applying a lot of it yourself right now to your own world and you're being your own experiment, which is the best.
I always am.
Right? I've done it all my life as well. I've always been my own experiment and trying things and noticing, how you feel, what's different, what's changing, what feels good, what doesn't, what's hard, what's everything that involves
that goes along with
these changes.
Well, and I think again, we always whenever I start a podcast, I always ask my guests, and we talked about this the first time, right? You have healed. You've gone on your own healing journey with this, and you've healed in a way that you never healed before you did any of this work, right? You did go down the functional medicine route. You worked in holistic healing partly because you wanted to heal your own self.
Always, right?
Right? And so
we study what we want to heal.
Exactly. So you did that, and yet you didn't find any resolution until you started doing this work.
Yeah, there was, and it's layers, right?
Yes.
And it's going through a process, and it's never ending. And there's always things that we're getting exposed to, and there's more bugs out there, and there's more problems. So we learn how to protect ourselves. We learn how to shore up our immune system. We know how to do it the right way. We learn, how food is medicine in a different way maybe than what we've learned before. And, it is a fascinating journey. And for me, it's interesting for me to watch you, because I went through the same things, but what about this? But what about that?
Right.
And questioning everything.
Yes.
And questioning everything that you thought you believed was true. And then well, wait a minute. So it is a mind.
Yeah, it's a mind F.
Right? For sure.
So I'm going to let you in on my journey, because I have been. The reason we are doing this is because I'm going to be vulnerable enough and share, because I always am with you guys, share my own journey and why I am actually doing this with you today and why I've become so passionate about this. So since I had gone through my cancer journey and my and chemo and radiation, a few years after I finished, probably 5 or 6 years after I finished radiation, I started developing a thyroid nodule. It is benign, it is not cancerous, but it was very large. I mean, if you go back and look at some of my old videos, you'll be able to see it protruding out, right? And it's never bothered me, but it does, right? I'm like, well, why do I have that? What purpose is this serving? And can I get it to go down? And when I was talking to you about it, and then, one of our 3-hour conversations, you're like, well, it's Epstein-Barr and da-da-da. And I'm like, what? This doesn't make sense. And then I started reading, and I'm like, okay, so it's a viral encapsulated. And all right, I can wrap my head around this, and I'm willing to lean into it and try it, because in science, look, science is all about experimenting. There's no absolutes in science.
Curiosity.
Right. There's no absolutes, right? That's a scientific study. It's trying to prove something, but it doesn't mean there aren't other ways.
Correct.
And I think if you're really going to be a true scientist and you're really going to be a true expert, and you've said this, then you need to always be curious. And you can't just dig your heels in and say, well, my way is the only way. Right. That my way is the only way. And there's nothing, then that's ignorant.
Yes.
Right? That's ignorance, and we're not serving anybody in that.
And it becomes dogma, and it becomes
right.
We're not willing to listen to somebody else.
100%. I mean, look at the whole fat-free debacle. Yeah. Right? Like in the 80s, we all thought fat was bad, so we all ate the sugar, and now, people ended up with diabetes, right? So we have to be very careful what we lean into, what paradigm we choose. And the problem is it takes a really long time to shift these paradigms. And what I'm learning is that it's also not always so clean and neat. And there's money behind a lot of these things, right? You go look at the pharmaceutical. I've said it over and over. Big pharma, big food, big government runs this country.
Correct.
And I will continue to say that. And the reading that I have done only substantiates that, right? And that can get a little scary, and we're not going to talk about that, but go back to my journey. So I was like, okay, well, what do I need to do to get rid of this? And you started talking, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all in, because I can't go half in, because that's not me. And so, the first words were no dairy, no gluten, no coffee.
No eggs.
Right, no eggs. No
That
eggs.
was a big one.
That was a big one. I was resisting the egg thing, and then I read more and more about the eggs, and I'm like, okay, prior to the 1950s, we could all eat eggs, and then after what happened, it's like, okay, well, so we can't eat eggs. So I have leaned into it. I will say the only part that I've sort of been a little bit on the kind of waxing and waning on is the coffee, although you all know me. I am coffee connoisseur. I am picky about my coffee. It's got to come from a certain bean. I like the bold stuff. Don't mess with my coffee. And I'm not going to Starbucks, and I'm not doing Dunkin' Donuts. I'm making my own coffee. And you're like, you got to give up coffee. I'm like, no. So,
but I didn't make you give it up. It's the coffee is really about the adrenals.
Right. And I get that. And look, I've tested my adrenal glands. My cortisol was through the roof. I need to not drink coffee.
And how about your test that just recently happened, where you ran out of your chaga mushroom, and then you had a little more coffee, and you actually felt it.
Right. So that was the thing, right? We don't know what we don't know until we stop doing what we know what we're doing. So I did. So what I have been doing is I've been doing half coffee and half of the chaga mushroom.
Correct.
And so I was at Howie's over the weekend, and I didn't have my chaga, and I had a full cup of coffee. And I want to tell you, I definitely felt it. Yeah. I felt the adrenaline rush, which I've never really felt before until doing all this experiment. And then I'm saying, well, that's not really good for my body, because what I was feeling was just this unnerving, feeling.
Right.
So what I can tell you is that 8 weeks in, it's a little more than 8 weeks, something like that.
Is it that much?
I think it is. Yeah. Maybe it's 6. I have given up eggs. I have not had eggs, and I have not had dairy.
Yep.
I have not had wheat, and I've minimized my coffee.
Excellent.
And I have been doing
celery.
I've been doing the lemon water. I've been doing my celery juice every day without fail. I did it when I was in Aspen too, and paying attention to the concepts of bringing down some of the radical fats, and they talk about that. And yes, I know we all think we need fat. So there's a conversation around that. I've decreased my animal proteins, and I'm still in the gym. I still got the muscles. So for those of you that think you need all that protein,
there you go.
And I've not done the gluten, and I'm doing mostly low fat in the morning, and doing my veggies and stuff. And I do have a little more fat in the evening. When I say little more than in the morning, which is much less for those of you, again, that know me how I cook. I used to take the olive oil and do that, and I would take the ghee and do that. And
because we learned, right, about lowering the fat really helps the liver, and it helps the glucose get into the cell.
Right.
So when you're staying more low fat or like fat free until noon, you allow the liver to cleanse and the liver to detox and throw out some of those toxins so that your body can heal. So it's kind of like doing a mini detox every day.
Right. It's totally doing a mini. And so that's where, so much of it resonates, because it is about cleaning out the liver. It is about getting rid of the bugs, right, that are harbored in your system. I mean, it is much deeper than that. These books are like that thick, people.
And you did say to me, right, and what you said, they are. There's the knowledge is huge, and there's every line, there's so much information in every line.
Yes.
And we talked about, you said to me, every single book and every single podcast doctor and every single platform on it has a detox, right?
Yes.
They all have their own.
Yeah.
And so how confusing is it for people out there to figure out what direction to go?
I think it's all confusing. And it is all confusing. You go on TikTok, you go on Instagram, as a practitioner who's been doing this 20 years, I sometimes look and I'm like, what? What do I even believe, And so, and if I'm saying that, I can't imagine what you guys are saying. And
you're also looking at your science stuff and what and when you go back, now you're looking at it with a little bit of a different critical eye, aren't you? I
am. Well, that's the thing. Like when he talks about liver detox and the glucose getting into the cell, like if you can wrap yourself around that as a scientist, in a more open-minded way, it makes sense, right? Now, maybe it's not what the mainstream science is showing.
Correct.
Necessarily all the way through, but it does make sense, and it makes more sense because I'm actually living it.
Right.
So I'm doing it and I'm feeling better.
Yeah.
And not that I was feeling bad. I just think energetically there's a different level of energy.
But so that's the thing we could talk about as well, just because you may not be like, I treat a lot of people who have a lot of chronic illness and chronic disease.
Yeah, you see really sick people.
I do. And every once in a while I get someone who's not so sick, but also when you could say I was feeling well, but you still had a thyroid nodule, you still have little, maybe some sleep issue, and there might be some other little things that are happening for people, that these are like the little warning signs. So it's the preventative medicine that even if you think you're feeling okay, these are really good practices to implement now.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I would experience, I never really talked about it, but we had talked about it, is I'll get, sometimes that heart flutter, right? That atrial tachycardia.
Right.
I've had zero of that since. And I wouldn't get it often, but I would get it if I had alcohol. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. I'm not really drinking alcohol, which I was giving up anyway before I even started this. I just didn't love how I feel. Right. The science on alcohol sucks anyway.
Absolutely.
It's just bad. It's bad for you. And so
it's not a popular opinion, but
no, it is not a popular opinion, but again, I was out the other night, Howie and I celebrated our 3rd anniversary, and I had a little bit of wine. I couldn't even finish the glass. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I was like, he's like, aren't you going to finish? I'm like, you can have the rest of it. I didn't even want it anymore.
Interesting.
And so
it's interesting when things naturally fall away, that it's not an effort. That's what I love, that what happens for people.
Well, and I said to you, right, I resisted coffee, I resisted giving it up, yet now I'm really, okay, I need to find a way to, I'm playing around with the shagan, I'm playing around with some of these other mushrooms, because now I don't love how the coffee makes me feel.
Right.
So it really is my body. I always say you've got to listen. Your body's talking to you.
And sometimes you can't, when people say I'm intuitive eating, you actually, when your body is a little more filled with more toxic or whatever it is, you can't always know for sure.
Well,
so
true, yeah.
When you're cleaning out a little bit more, then you get to have a more heightened response to your intuition in a way.
Yeah.
So you could see, like, you didn't know that coffee was feeling a certain way until you started to reduce it. And then you saw, like,
and
wow.
then I could see what it was doing. Yeah. Well, right. And it is the same thing with the gluten and the dairy and whatever. And whatever I'm doing, I'm definitely leaner than I was, right? I always say weight loss was not the intention. It's always nice to lose a little. But, but I'm definitely leaner, and I'm feeling that. And I'm feeling strong in the gym. So for me, it's like, okay, that whole protein conversation we have to have. Not today.
It's a longer conversation.
But I think the bigger piece here is, I'm going to tell you, this nodule, and this to me is everything. This nodule, and Sherri can vouch for this, has come, it's not gone. It is not completely gone, but I can barely palpate it. Like I can feel it, but it has gone down significant. And when I asked you a few weeks ago, I said, how long is this going to take? You said, I don't know, it could take 6 months, it could take a year. And then like literally 2 weeks later.
And we have you on some supplements as well.
Right, so I'm on supplements,
protocol,
yes.
Not just the celery juice and the lemon water.
Right,
and the
it is not just the diet. I am doing specific supplements.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, to help the antiviral program to kind of work on the underlying root cause of what the original cancers were, and just to help that body kill and die off of some of that other stuff that's going on. That could just be like in the tissues in your body somewhere and cause more issues down the line. And that's why you have a specific program for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. What she said. Yeah. So my impetus to keep going is okay. Yeah. Yes, I do feel so much better overall. But is to get rid of this, and then the idea is to cleanse my body and have it be as healthy. I often say we don't embrace prevention.
Yeah.
And so
until there's a crisis.
Until there's a crisis, right? And so I have lived my life this way for the past 20 years in prevention because I was sick, so I want to prevent anything else from happening. And I know with this information that I'm reading, right, that even though I did feel good, that's what people always say, but you felt so good and you ate so clean. Yes.
So did I.
Right. Yes, I have been doing that, but I also know we live in an extremely toxic world. I also know our food supply is not amazing. I also know, what are we exposed to? Mm-hmm. And so, and I also know that you're not getting rid of 100% of the bugs in your system, or you're exposed to them all the time, right?
Correct.
So it's about the maintenance.
So then talk to me about what the challenges of the dietary changes, the challenges of reading the information and how it conflicts because of all the things that you've learned, and same for me.
Yeah.
How do you, what drives you to keep going?
Well, I think, that I've seen this reduced, right? So clearly something is working. It is not just the supplements.
Right.
I know in my heart of hearts, it is not just the supplements, right? And I'm doing the tinctures. I'm not doing a lot of the pills. I do lysine as a pill. I do the MTHFR as a pill. I'm using, mostly the other drops, and 5 or 6 different ones, something like that. I'm doing the heavy metal detox smoothie. So I know it's a combination of both, but what has been most challenging from giving up a food perspective?
Yeah.
The dairy, without a doubt. Like I could do without gluten. I don't give a crap about gluten. I mean, whatever, right? But the dairy and the eggs for me, because again, if you follow the teachings of Weston A. Price, and if you follow, follow that science, and I do think maybe was Sally Fallon and Mary Enig. Like these are the pioneer women in the world of fat and in the world of whole food nutrition, really. And I think maybe that stuff was accurate way back when our food supply wasn't adulterated, when we didn't have these viruses and these pathogens that are really not natural. Right? I mean, I think that when you look at ancestral tribes, this is how they ate.
And the manufactured pathogens that we're working with right now in this world are causing more issues, and the amount of chemicals that we're exposed to.
So that's what I'm saying. I think their theories from prior to all of this industrialization and all of the new stuff, right, which was before 1950, right? Yeah. So I think their ideology was spot on. The problem is fast forward to 2024, and those principles don't hold true because so much has happened,
and the livers are tapped out.
So for me, it was dairy, it was eggs. That was hard. It still is hard. I'll go out we'll go out with friends, whatever. I'm looking at the eggplant parm and I'm going, I love my fish or I love my veggies, right? And so that is still something that.
So you know your why,
but I know my why, and and look, and truth be told, there's some really good vegan cheeses out there. I have now embraced the vegan cheese world, and so I will use some of the vegan Parmesan, and actually it tastes good to me, and so I don't use a ton of it because
as long as we don't have nutritional yeast in there.
I have not used. That was the other one I gave. That wasn't so hard to give up. I was just sad. I'm like, I used to use nutritional yeast, right? Is that?
Yeah.
So I gave up that, and I think just preparation, right? I mean,
it's time.
It takes time. There is no question. It takes time. Look, and I love to cook, but there are days where I'm like, oh man, I just didn't have enough time, and I'm getting better at it. I'm definitely getting better at it. I can make my heavy metal detox smoothie in no time now. I'm just like, shoo. But I think having it's the greens. It's having the greens. I'm trying to figure out a way to juice the greens. I was telling Sherri, I tried to juice kale and collard greens, and it didn't work. But I think it was not. Maybe it's my juicer, so I got to go back to that whole drawing board of things.
Yeah. But let's talk about then. From this, your training in functional medicine, and embracing all this medical medium information that you have every book now. And you're in the middle of every single book.
Yes, I literally have 4 of them open.
You're going from book to book to look at these concepts. And I think, what I've been passionate about, and I think you are now as well, is how do we combine all of it? And we don't have to throw anything out, but we can actually take all of these wisdom pieces that Anthony has brought forth, and we can integrate it, and then we can look at it more where there's just giving us more information about the why with some of the things that we don't have enough information on. And now with some of these root cause, we're looking at root cause way differently than in functional medicine.
100%. Right? And I think especially with the autoimmune piece, right? That we're so stuck into the and I love how he says it. The body why would the body attack itself from just a survival perspective?
Right.
And when you take a step back and go, oh, all right, just that makes sense. Now I don't understand the why. So I think putting that together and then again, seeing where it's working with me and then saying, okay, I am willing to try this with a client that I haven't had such great success with because it'll up their food ante, their nourishment game. They're going to be better nourished. And, what if they happen to do better? Well, that's a no-brainer, right? And I think that's where in looking at who you've worked with, right? You've had so many people you've worked with who are better.
They're better, and there's a lot of people that are in process right now because some of some of them are more complicated. And when you're using, when you're peeling away all these layers from years and years, seeing people who've been sick for 10 or 15 years, and how to repair the body and the tissues. You're not giving them a drug. You're not giving them a quick fix, and that's the thing. This is, I always say that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
And it really is looking at it that way. It is a lifestyle change, and it's not simple by any means.
Yeah. And Amanda and I, I'm going to out her a little bit. She wouldn't care, but because we're going to do a podcast on this. So Amanda also is on this protocol because Amanda's got her own stuff, right? Yep. And we'll banter back and forth, she and I, because we're we know more than the average person. We do more than the average person, and we find this difficult and challenging at times. And so we lean on each other and have support and support each other on that and say, oh, well, maybe we can give a little here, give a little there, right? And where we can finagle and, without really messing it up. But it is nice to have that support. But she's also seeing a shift.
She is.
Right? And she was frustrated because she wasn't. And then you shifted around some things for her. We made some tweaks.
Yep.
And, 2-3 weeks later, she is starting to feel that shift. And so, it is definitely a marathon. And again, the proof is in the fact that someone is feeling better. And it's not I can tell you 100%, it's not a placebo. This is not a placebo. I could not make this go away by waving my magic wand that I don't have, right? Exactly. And again, my energy was always pretty good. But I think my energy a lot of times was adrenaline. energy. Now what I feel is like different.
Yes, that's the difference, right? When you start, like, that's what I felt when I had to get off coffee after a while. And I was a coffee person. Yeah. Believe me, I was the connoisseur of coffees. And I'd make my own, and it was my special blend and all that stuff. And it took me a while. It really, really took me time. And every time I had gotten off of it, it always found its way back in. Yeah. Always. And so when it finally got, like, I feel like I got free of it, to really understand what natural energy feels like, and to feel like you can wake up and you don't feel like, oh my God, give me that cup of coffee because I can't do what I need to do and turn my brain on or energy or go to the gym or whatever. And it was just such it really is a sense of freedom, and to have natural energy like that, and just to feed your body differently. And I always say, and I like, taste buds change over time. They just really, really do. So when you feel like, I hate this food, or I hate that food, or this is not enough, I'm not satisfied, and I need that creamy texture, and like all of a sudden, the longer you go and the more you shift, it's like your body feels different, your mind feels different, everything starts to change, and it gets easier. At first, it's tough.
Right. Well, I tried to go in it too hard,
too fast. You jumped in really. You jumped into a 369.
Yeah, I jumped into
which is what I'm in right
for
now.
4 days. I was like, okay, I'm done with that. But it is a process.
Some people do, actually. They do still do that. But yes,
thank God. God bless them. I can't do that. But I do. Again, I am still like, I'm not totally fat free, and maybe I won't ever be totally fat. I don't know. I'm not. I'm right. I'm not saying never say never, because I am saying never say never, because I don't know what this is going to look like. I never would have thought I would have been off dairy and eggs. So go figure.
Right.
But.
And no one's saying you need to be that way. No one's saying you need to be fat free to heal.
Right.
So, everybody's got their own level. Right,
and I think that's the beauty of this, is there is the leeway. I don't want you guys out there to feel like, oh my God, I have to go follow this, verbatim. And I think that's the beauty of what we're going to be doing.
And then what are we going to be doing?
So excited. I totally forgot about that. So we are going to be doing a 3-day medical medium cleanse. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, we're going to do a 3-day like
intro?
Reboot your system. Yeah, like reboot. So, and an intro to these principles, and helping you all to be able to start to dip your toe in the water for seeing how you feel and integrating. And maybe you have some symptoms that are these niggly symptoms that are just really bugging you, or you have a diagnosis that you're looking to heal, or you're having medication that you'd love to get off at some point, or you have, there's a laundry list of things that you could possibly wanting to correct for yourself and feel better. And so Meryl and I are planning to do this 3-day event to support you, introduce you, educate you, and get you inspired and really excited, like I am, and now you are, and make it fun. And do it in a group, in community.
Well, and I think
this beautiful space.
Yes, I think one of the things we've talked about often, and I've talked about here as well, is we want to create a better sense of community and supporting people who want to heal and to want to feel better, without having that stigma of, I remember reading in the brain book about people who are sick, and having that stigma around being sick, and that they may not look sick, but they feel sick, and yet they're invalidated by the medical community, and they're invalidated by their family and their peers, and just like, it's all in your head and get over it. And we know that it's not that.
Correct.
And so we also want to be there for you out there who are struggling and suffering, and and I am very optimistic that this work really works. Anthony William has 4 million followers for a reason. He has the first 10 pages of his books have testimonials about people healing. Yeah. His Instagram has all of these stories of healing. I don't know, and I think that was the tipping point for me. I don't know of any other site.
Yes, exactly.
With all due respect, yes, the big docs out there are people who have gotten better. Yes.
Because remember, you change, there's always going to be people get better with everything, doing something, right? But there's a lot of people out there that are not getting better, doing all the things that they're being told to do, right? Because again, it goes back to what is the root cause.
And we've really got to look at root cause. And the root cause is something is invaded your system. Yeah. Something has invaded your system.
And it's clinical.
And right,
we can't
it's under the hood. You can't see it. You can't test for it. And, or at least not yet. Not yet.
We're not advanced enough.
Right.
So we can look at things, but we don't have enough. So why wait for science to catch up? And why not just do what we know works now in a really smart, effective way to have guidance from some practitioners that really know their stuff and be able to help you, and also not feel like an island to yourself. And that's why this community where you feel like I hear this from patients all the time, that they feel like they're alone.
Yes.
Because they might be the only one in their group that's not feeling so well, so they feel that isolation.
Right, that they're, and look, this work can be isolating. I mean, we talked about that in terms of even just, food prep and how you want to eat when you go out, and it's different. Yeah. And you need to be willing to commit to your, what is your why to do this, and are you willing to put in the effort to get there? Yeah. Because it is effort. I am 100% going to tell you it is effort. Do I think it's worth it? Yeah. I don't think you have anything unless you have your health.
Yes. What else do you have?
Right. So if you're not healthy, you can't be living the life that you want. And if you're not healthy, you can't be spending the money you want. And, you could be rich, but if you're not healthy, you can't do anything with it. So
exactly.
I think it's just
more important than ever right now, right?
Yes, 100%. So we have to come up with a date.
We don't have our exact date.
We have to come up with a date. Maybe we pick a late May date. If not, I think we look at early June so that everybody can get themselves organized, because I know for a lot of people May is a big month. But stay tuned, right? Graduations, all that kind of stuff. And so Memorial Day, right? People are traveling. So stay tuned. We will let you know when we're doing it. I promise we'll give you some lead time. We won't just spring it on you. And we're going to continue to do we'll do short versions, right? More talks. Today was supposed to be a short version. It's like 37 minutes. That's not so short, but
we'll do quick little vignettes of something.
Yes. And we want to hear from you. We have had great feedback, lots of great questions from clients. So please send us your questions, and maybe one day we just do a live Q&A. I mean, we are launching a membership, and that's going to be announced next week. So I'm super excited about that. So we will have you on one of our Q&A, one of our monthly Q&As, and we can,
it would be great. Yeah, I think the more that you let us know what you want to hear about, we'll talk about it.
Yep. Yeah, and as I continue to learn, I can answer like she's answering.
You will.
Yeah. Anything else that we didn't cover? I mean, like I said, we'll get back to you on the 3-day thing. Please let us know if you're interested, because we will have capacity here. We have a small amount of capacity here. We are going to stream it. I think we decided, right? Live stream it.
So we'll be in touch with you every day, and we're going to give you support every day. And so, I mean, it would be great to have people show up together with us, and we can do little demos, and then we'll stream it, like you said, and then just build this new community of like-minded souls here, just on the same journey of healing and passionate about life and living and all of it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Cool.
Way to go. All right, everyone. This is your Rebel Nutritionist signing off. Until next time. The Rebel Hyper Rebel. Make it a great day.
Bye-bye.